once again, we've got a walk that is packed full of folklore and stories, and with all good folklore stories, even the devil makes an appearance at some point. But it's quite an interesting one, quite a sort of compact little area that we're covering. So let's have a look what's coming up. So today our walk takes us past some spectacular and story-filled places. We start by walking alongside the Strid, an enigmatic and treacherous stretch of the River Wharfe, before crossing onto Bardon Fell to take in the sights on offer there. There are magical waterfalls, timeless rock formations and beautiful views, all host to tales that have travelled through time to be with us today. So I've parked up near Bardon Bridge and we're going to follow the River Wharfe down past the Strid and then up to the Valley of Desolation. But it's a beautiful spot, beautiful views all round, and I'm looking forward to getting up high onto Simon's Seat so that we can hopefully get those views all the way round. This first bit is a nice little path, just follows the river along. There's plenty of wildlife around, just in a little charm of goldfinches in the trees, so they're all beginning to flock together for autumn now. And as we're near Bolton Abbey, it's often punctuated by these nice like buildings, bridges, stuff like that. So we've got this very Yorkshire Dales view right here, which is nice, and hopefully we'll get a glimpse of some dippers at some point. But the path undulates a bit here, gets your legs set for the walk to come. I can already hear the sound of the water growing in intensity, and that'll be the Strid. So once we're there, we're going to go down, have a look and see what stories surround it. It's a beautiful walk along here. Got some elevation as we cross over the Strid. I don't know from this side whether I'm going to be able to get down to it. But it looks wild. You can see that water is being forced through there at an incredible rate. The Strid is a well-known stretch of the River Wharfe that was renowned for the belief that if you enter it, you are very unlikely to come out. This is due to the fact that the whole of the usually wide River Wharfe is suddenly forced through a narrow limestone channel, causing it to become a fierce chute of water. It's said that under the surface, this pressure has created a plethora of ledges and pockets that, once entered, prove almost impossible to escape. A tale tells of one boy, William de Romilly, who in 1154 tried to jump across this stretch of water, only to fail in his attempt. His mother, so aggrieved by her son's death, donated the land surrounding it so that Bolton Abbey could be built as a way to pray for his soul. Although the accuracy of this account is debated, it has become an important part of local folklore. And so notorious is the danger of the Strid that some others believe that the stretch of water is haunted by a spectral horse complete with fairy rider that entice people to enter the water and then whisk them away to their doom. These are just a couple of the stories that have entered the psyche of the people and the place, and there are plenty more, which goes to show what an important and feared location the Strid really is. It's said to have a mortality rate of 100% of those who enter it. So it's one of those places, like a lot of these that we cover on these walks, where it's quite a unique sort of place, a unique set of circumstances, and as of that, it gathers these stories around it. And it must have been a fascination to the local populace of days gone by. And so they attribute these stories to it. Or, of course, perhaps these tragedies did happen and they've gathered momentum as time has gone past. But yeah, it's interesting that they're often around these really iconic places and features. So it's a glorious stretch of woodland, glorious stretch of water. Well, I would not recommend going for a swim in it, because the likelihood is you won't come out, and if you do, you might be dead. Once you've passed the Strid, it's a quick and pleasant walk through the woods up to the entrance onto Barden Fell, which is access land that is owned by Bolton Abbey Estate. Once you go through the gate, you get a bit of a change of scenery. Right, so we're out of Stridwood and we're on to Barden Moor. So this is where all the Simon's Seat is, Devil's Aprons full, Lordstones. They're all these sort of gritstone outcrops that have been weathered away through time, and I sit on top of the fells. So we're obviously heading towards Simon's Seat, but we are coming up via the Valley of Desolation. Sounds like a name from Lord of the Rings or something, but apparently it's quite a beautiful spot, so we'll go and have a look. So there's loads of these great little place names on the map around here, and they're so good. They're the things that you can get lost in when you're looking at a map and planning routes. These weird little quirks of the English countryside, and certainly what sort of inspired me to I don't know, just enjoy the landscape and find out more about it. So yeah, this place is full of it, which is nice. So this land that the Valley of Desolation on is all privately owned, so it's access land. They've got signs up everywhere, no dogs allowed and no cycling, which, I'm so divided on that whole thing. I feel the right to roam is a real powerful movement, and I am behind it. I feel like we should be able to explore our countryside where we live without fear of prosecution or intimidation, but that has to come with caveats, and that has to come with respect for the land that you are accessing and not leaving a mess, not fly camping, etc., as we saw a couple of years back to quite a bad degree. So yes, it's one of those. I don't know how you manage it really, but as for me, I'll keep sneaking onto land that I'm probably not allowed to be on, but they won't know that I'm there, so it's fine. As we continue up the valley, you begin to get a glimpse of what is to come. Stone outcrops appear above the lower forested slopes, and the ground rises, swapping the lush green of the tendered fields for that of thick bracken. The feeling of the open fell is not too far away. Right, so we're in the Valley of Desolation, and it's rather quite beautiful, I think. But the name itself actually refers to a bad storm that happened here, and after this storm the valley had been cleared of trees, everything was a mess and all the rest of it. So it became known as the Valley of Desolation, which it's a little bit of it's nice that the name's lingered on, but it's not a really romantic story. It kind of is, I suppose, and it's nice that the name's carried on, but my sort of imagining was far more Lord of the Rings than it was Michael Fish. So there we go. But anyway, we are just walking up the field here, and I can hear the stream down here. I think it's Wharfe, and apparently we're going to come across a nice waterfall soon. But yeah, it's nice up here. It's beginning to cloud up a little bit. I'm hoping we're going to get some nice clear views from the top, but we shall see. We're just about to stroll up through here. So it seems privately owned. It's feels quite well managed, if you know what I mean, at this lower part. And I assume that the top of the fell will be managed for grouse shooting, which I'm not the biggest fan of. But just as we say it, there we go. I don't know if you can see that through there. Wharfe Waterfall. There's a little path here leading down here that I could quite easily have missed. So I assume this one leads to the waterfall. So let's get down and have a look, shall we? just stopped to shoot some B-roll, and as predicted on this walk, we have a dipper in the waterfall. That is such a beautiful sight. I do wish I had my big lens with me, because that would be a beautiful shot with the dipper in the foreground and the waterfall coming down in the background. That is lovely. So that might have to be a spot to come back to. But yes, wildlife tick number 1, dipper. I probably won't be able to get it with this lens because I don't think it's long enough, but nice to see it, and a pretty impressive waterfall actually, quite big. So yeah, I'd say, I don't know how tall that is. I have no spatial awareness, but beautiful sight. Right, I'm going to go and get a little bit closer. I'll see if I can get a little bit of footage of this dipper. So if you look closely, and I mean really closely, you'll see the dipper that I mentioned somewhere in these shots, but I'll leave that up to you to find. Now, I looked long and hard to find any folklore associated with this waterfall, but came up blank. And I think it just goes to show how numerous the waterfalls are in the Yorkshire Dales, as there are many that do have their own stories. But this one, this beautiful spot, could not contend with those. So it just didn't get a story to call its own. So now we slog it up through the woods until we get out onto Barden Fell, and up onto Simon Seat from there. The gradient increasing, the lungs working, the legs tingling. So good, we're just about at the top of the waterfall here. Again, nice little paths all the way around. Certainly feels like it's getting more exciting as well as we go on. And then, as I say that, unfortunately, as we gain some height, we go downhill a bit again, which means more uphill to come. There's the top of the waterfall. You can just see behind me there. Beautiful little spot. Really magical, and you know, the desolation that besmirched this area now seems to have recovered quite nicely. It's really verdant, green, beautiful. Lots of lovely little pools to dip in on a nice summer's day, but a bit chilly for that today. But yes, it's a really nice little valley, the Valley of Desolation. Despite my being disappointed that there were no orcs or magical amulets in this Valley of Desolation, it is still full of interest, and it goes to prove the point that memories can live longer than a lifetime. The great storm that caused this destruction took place in 1827, so nearly 200 years ago. But that name still lives on. This storm was obviously a big event in this location's history, and the continued use of this name reaffirms that point and preserves this memory for future generations to remember. I am hot, sweaty, and out of breath now. We are come out of the woods. The magical element has left us a little bit, and we're on a sort of forest track. Signs of forestry work been going on. You know, perhaps this is the real Valley of Desolation. But I assume before too long we're going to be out on the fell proper, and we'll be able to see the route to come. It's quite nice walking along this though, quite easy, gentle gradient, and yeah, jobs are good. Here we are, out on the moor. Got some sheepies doing their sheep business, and we can see our path striking off up in front of us there. It's quite nice actually to be out on the open moor after being in the woods for a little while. Makes a bit of a change, and it's also pretty calm today down here anyway. I don't know what it'll be like on the very tops, but yeah, it's nice, very nice. This route up onto Simon's Seat gives you so much variety, with all of the best bits that the Yorkshire Dales has to offer, from wide shallow rivers with glimpses of the abundant wildlife, then onto wooded paths dotted with waterfalls, all before you head out onto the open fell that promises to offer up those awe-inspiring views of the land around you. So you quickly gain elevation on this bit, as you can see behind me, and we're starting to see a lot more of these rocky outcrops appearing on the hills, which is a bit of an indication of what's to come. And I've got to say, the weather is absolutely glorious. I always come out hoping for a little bit of drama with these videos, but no, sunshine. That's Yorkshire for you. We're on the eastern edge of the Dales really here, and the weather tends to be pretty good over that way. But yes, look at that, beautiful Yorkshire. So we are now nearing the top of the fell. We've got Simon's Seat in front of us, I believe. And you've got Henstones over there and the Devil's Apronful over there. Now, there's an interesting little story around the Devil's Apronful, which is that the devil himself, whilst trying to drop rocks upon some, I assume, religious establishment nearby, dropped all the rocks out of his apron onto the fell top, and there they lay to this day. Now it's interesting because I didn't realise that the devil worked in the kitchen or that he wore an apron. So you do learn something whilst looking at these folklore tales. But yes, I believe it's Simon's Seat in front of us because it's got the trig point on the top. So it's the highest point of the fell, although the other one looks higher. I think that's just from the position I'm in. Now, Simon's Seat has got a few interesting stories that surround it. There is the sort of one of the widely believed ones that there was a powerful sort of religious figure, Druid, if you will, if you believe in that term, called Simon Magus or Simon Magnus, can't remember. And this is where he used to hold forth and have his sermons and what have you, and that's a real strong image here. You imagine that, you know, a while back this would have been wooded probably, or wilder than it is today, and all these people would have made their way up here to listen to Simon on his seat talking about his beliefs. And I thought, oh, that's a really nice image, and you know, to have carried on for all this time, it's a nice one to have. But there is another tale, quite an interesting one, and I'm going to talk about that one in a minute. I dug a little deeper around this story of Simon Magus and found that he was purportedly one of the three wise men. Yes, he of the Bible fame. And he tried to buy some Holy Spirit from Jesus' disciples. Now this is where we get the term simony from, which is the selling of church offices, rolls or holy objects. If this is the case, I doubt that he travelled to Yorkshire to deliver his sermons, and it was more likely a place for his followers to gather. But you never know. Yorkshire is a very nice spot, so he might have chosen to settle here. What interests me here, though, is the fact that we have conflicting and different stories associated with this location. I feel like this goes to show how important these places are, and have been, and how people have invented and attached meaning to them. It stops them from being just nameless features of the landscape, and makes them a marker or an oblique time capsule for carrying messages and beliefs through time with them. So just keep up to date on the wildlife on this walk. We've had some sort of hawk, look like sort of kestrel vibe, but not quite, so maybe, I don't know if it's a sparrow hawk or something like that, but it wasn't going very fast. We've had some big birds of prey, seen a red kite and a buzzard, and all of these, as I'm walking up here, just loads of stone chats, absolutely covered in them, which is nice. They're lovely little birds, stone chats. That's 2 just there, 3. So yes, a very nice little spot if you want to do a bit of wildlife watching. Obviously got the red grouse, which are indicated by the grouse butts that are around. But yeah, it's quite nice actually. It's wilder than I thought up here. This sort of rocky, semi-lunar, semi-vegetated landscape. And you've still got all these little rock outcrops bursting out of the ground. It's nice. I think I've said it before, I'll say it again. It is absolutely glorious up here. I've had Simon's Seat on my radar for quite some time, but I didn't quite expect it to be as, I don't know, magical as this. It's weird because I often drive on the A59 and you always see these fells, and they've kind of become a bit of the wallpaper of my journey across there. And you forget that once you get into them, they do change. They're not just there as scenery. Once you actually properly immerse yourself in them, there's so much to see. And this is great, really interesting little spot. So we are very nearly at Simon's Seat, and there's the second story. I'm sure there are many more, but this one involves a farmer, a shepherd in fact, and he came up to Simon's Seat one day and he found an infant up there. It was about 6 months old. So instead of leaving him, he was a good man. He picked him up and took him back, but he was a single man, didn't have children of his own, so he didn't really know what he was doing. So he went to some friends for help, and eventually it was decided that the whole village would take on this child and raise him together. And so
future me cutting in here just to correct a bit of a mistake on this bit that I made. What I was trying to say is that this Simon became known as Simon Amungham, or in the local dialect, Amangham, which is a name that is still found in the local area today. Now, what I also wanted to say is it's funny how this Simon Amangham and Simon Magus have a slight similar ring to them, and it's interesting how these stories often have echoes of each other within them. Right, back to it.
You know, could the stories have fed in from each other and, you know, created their own myth within each other?
The name of Simon's Seat was first recorded in 1771. It wasn't until around 100 years later that the story of the Foundling Simon was committed to print. Now, this does not necessarily mean that the story came after the name, just that it had only been spoken before, which makes it nearly impossible to date. The Druidic account was proposed by 19th century antiquarians, and again is hard to substantiate. I like the fact that these stories can't be proven. It means that they can remain as stories, and it's up to us to attach to them the importance that we deem fit. There is one more suggestion about the name's origin, and that is that it was named after a local landowner. As someone interested in stories, I'm going to ignore this one. Even if it could be proved, it really sucks the romance out of the place. I'll take the Druids or found babies, please.
So we've gone from wild and green rivers to sort of barren, scrubby moorland, and what a load of change it is. Even the lower part of the fell feels very different to the upper fell. And, you know, I've said it before, it's a definite landmark. All of these little bits of rock are, and as such, are named so. And yeah, it's got that magical, mysterious feeling, even though it's definitely touched by the modern day, and you can see where it's been managed. These monuments seem to last. Right, I'm gonna proceed on We're nearly at Simon Seat now, just there at the top of the fell, and I'm going to have a spot of lunch at the top there, which will be nice. So as we approach Simon Seat, you begin to get views opening up all the way around. So obviously majority of the way your view has been blocked by this fell. Now we're on the top of it, we're going to be able to see north and west more than we could before, and I think they're going to be rather nice. There's some really interesting little spots up here. I'm going to go and have a look over here, in fact. So this is like an outcrop on Simon Seat, and it looks like got the perfect little bivvy spot. I wouldn't be surprised if climbers don't use this for a bit of bouldering, although there is no chalk. Oh, look at that. What a piece of rock. Now you can see why Simon, the mage, chose this spot. What a place, what a place. You can feel the power. You can see the land around you, see everything that there is in your world. It's amazing. Right, I'm going to find that spot for lunch now because I am hungry, and enjoy the view. Now we're just picking our way up the rock. Plenty of ways up, I think, but I've chosen this way for better or worse. Oh. And it's a really interesting place. It'd be great with the kids, you know. They'd love it, clambering about on all this stuff. There it is.
Simon Seat is a great summit to explore. Its rocky outcrops and boulder-strewn top provide loads of interest, but it's the views that make it. You really are treated for your efforts when you reach your destination, and it's nice to allow yourself a little time to enjoy the spoils of the day.
Oh, what a glorious view from the top. Truly spectacular location. I can just see it. I probably won't be able to see it on here, but we've got the North York moors over there. You can see them, and obviously we come around, you see the golf balls of Harrogate, and then you got all the Yorkshire Dales stretching out, and the North Pennines. Beautiful spot. Really wild and nice, and you know, magical, folkloric. I feel a bit like Simon myself. I feel like I could hold forth up here. I don't know where the crowd down that way and I'd shout really loud, or if it'd be over this way. But yeah, what a magical spot. And we are rudely brought back into the modern day by McDonald's Monopoly. Well, you know, I think I need those up. So there we go. Let's extend you out a little bit. Simon Seat. There we go. What a beautiful spot, and I'd recommend anyone coming up here, especially if you've got kids who don't nag too much while you're on a walk, because it is great fun. There's a lot of fun to be had, jumping about on the rocks and climbing the little boulders. But now we're heading down, and just over yonder is the site of one of my future videos, which you can just make out over there, which is Troller's Gill, but we'll save that for another day. I'm sure you can guess some of the content of that, but for now we've got this nice path that we're walking down here, which will take us down to Howgill, and then we're going to follow the river back to the car. It's been a really nice walk, full of some good stories. Nothing too spooky on this one though. I'd like a spooky one next, I think. They're the best ones, but like I say, if I get to Troller's Gill, now that one, that's got some spookiness to it. And so for everyone who has liked my videos, thank you very much. I've still got, you know, very few views on here, but that's fine. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And I haven't uploaded anything for absolutely ages, so to get any views is good. And yeah, so I'd like to say thank you for watching. Obviously, it means a lot. If you like it, please do like, and if you really like it, please don't forget to subscribe. It'll help things out. And for the one commenter, thank you for commenting, even if it was a little bit on the aggressive side. No, I'm only joking. It was part of the folklore dialogue. And yeah, I'd love to hear more comments from you people. Like if you've got any points or any suggestions or if you know something different about the folklore that I've spoken about, just, you know, let me know. It's interesting. Let's talk about it. All right. So until next time, you get out there, get walking, get weirding, try and find some excellent stories, and I shall see you out on the trail. Ciao for now. I can't say ciao for now. Right, that's it for now. Goodbye. See you next time.